If you're anything like me, I just keep raising the bar on myself. So there's constantly new situations that I'm stepping into that make me feel like an imposter. Once I realized that the goal wasn't for that feeling to go away, the goal was to embrace that feeling and realize that that's pointing me in the direction of my growth, it helped me to settle into the fact that that's what I signed up for. Today, we're going to answer some questions directly from you, the Powerhouse Women community. And when I put this question out to our text community asking, what's your biggest challenge right now? How can we create some podcast content to really help you move forward? A big theme was from those of you who are early stage entrepreneurs. Maybe your big idea is still in the idea stage, or you're in the first few years. And let me tell you, the journey of starting a business is not for the weak. I always say that starting a business, or just entrepreneurship in general, really is just a personal development plan with a financial opportunity attached to it. So I loved the questions that came in today. We're going to dive into gaining visibility. How do you gain visibility and build credibility so you can gain new customers? And then how do you break through the fears that show up? Because if this truly is a personal growth plan disguised as a financial opportunity, then it's going to require us to grow. And that's the biggest thing that I wish someone would have just sat me down and given me kind of like this, here's what to expect. You know, we have that book, What to Expect When You're Expecting, where parents will learn what to expect when they're having a new baby. But no one, actually, maybe I should write that. Like, someone write that down. Maybe that's the book that I need to write next, What to Expect When You Are Growing a Business. Because the biggest thing is that it will force you to grow. And if it's not, then you're probably not thinking big enough. If you're getting to the point where you're starting to have fear show up, you're starting to doubt yourself, that's actually a sign that you're going in the right direction. So I'm going to dive into these questions submitted by our text community. And if you want to get on the text community, all it is I send out a little note once a week, a little mindset or business tip. And then I do actually read all of the replies. It is only me who reads these. And it's kind of like this direct line to connect with all of you, especially the podcast community. So if you want to join that and know how to submit questions for a future episode, all you have to do is text me the word mentor to the number 602-536-7829. We'll make sure that's all in the show notes too. So this first question is from Danielle Hernandez. And Danielle said, "Hi, Lindsay, my biggest roadblock is getting started. I've recently decided to go all in and start a digital course business and eventually a membership down the line. However, I haven't started posting on social media. Therefore, I don't have a brand built, and I keep getting stuck between, do I create my offer right away because I'm really excited about it, or do I hold off and just focus on building a social media presence and brand awareness? Help, what should I focus on first?" And she also mentioned that she's eager to start making an income. I feel this. And this is a really common question that will show up within our six-figure school community. That's our 12-week mentorship program for early stage businesses. It's just this question of like, what do I do first? Which one is better to start with? And the truth is that you always want to be focusing on building your audience and building brand awareness. So when in doubt, start there, okay? And the second thing is that, you know, when you are creating an offer, most often, at least in my experience, the offer will change a bit the more you get to know your audience. So very few of us just come up with the perfect offer, meaning like the thing you're going to sell right away. So in my experience, building the community, but really engaging with them, even if it's just a few people who are willing to engage back and give you feedback, is going to help you come up with a better offer, and one that is going to just be better suited to meet their needs, because you'll really understand the people that you are serving. So I would start immediately, even before you know what your offer is, or you may not even really know what business you want to start. start showing up on platforms like social media. You can even start building an email list before you have complete clarity on what it is you want to talk about or what you're going to sell. And just start with what you do know. Okay, I know I'm really interested in mindset. I really want to do something around that. Usually there's something that is pushing us forward to want to start a business in the first place. There's someone that we see we could help, or maybe it's drawing from our own personal experiences, and we know that we wish we would have had these resources or these tools or that program when we were first getting started in something. So start there. Start by speaking to the person that you really want to serve. Think about how you can help them. And yes, building a social media presence is a great place to start, but I would also start building an email list, even if you aren't totally sure what your offer is going to be. The second thing is, that feedback piece. And this is where sometimes I'll get pushback because people will say, well, I ask for feedback and no one answers. Okay, well, I'm going to so lovingly just challenge that a little bit, because oftentimes what we're doing is we're just putting feedback requests out on one platform and we're not getting creative or making it worth someone's while in order to talk back to us. So for example, when I put out a request for feedback, even with the community size that we have today, I only get a handful of responses. When I was first getting started, I got no responses. So I'm thinking back to when I was planning the very first Powerhouse Women event. So here I knew, okay, my offer is I want to host this event, but I didn't know how to talk about it. I didn't even really know, what do people want from an event? So the first thing that I did is I just created a really simple survey, and I individually reached out to over 50 people and asked them if they would fill it out. And do you know how many filled it out? I actually went back and looked. This was in 2017, 8 people. So sometimes it's, we're just putting it out there on one platform, like a social media poll, and then we're upset that no one engages. Or we've sent it out to 10 people and got no response, and then make that mean that no one's willing to give us feedback. There's always people willing to give you feedback if you're asking enough people. And then the other way to kind of, in an indirect way, get some feedback about how you could really help people is find someone who's serving a similar audience. And whether it's that they have maybe an online forum, a Facebook group or something like that, or you can even just go into the comments section of their content and look for gold in the comments. Look for gold by mining for it in areas where people are serving a similar audience, and look for what people are saying is missing. Listen for what maybe this brand doesn't offer that you can. Look for these little insights about how to message things, how to speak directly to someone's pain point. If they're not talking to you, then go and find on what platforms they are talking about that problem they really want to solve. And that'll help you get the best feedback that you can, right? You just start with what you can get in order to help figure out exactly what that offer should be and then how to message it so it really connects with the people that you want to serve. But at the end of the day, it's never too early to start building your audience. So when in doubt, and this is for Danielle, start there, okay? The second question was from Sarah Olson, and Sarah asked, what is the best way to gain visibility and build your customer base, especially for early stage companies? So here is what I love to do myself, but what I often will teach within our mentorship programs. So I want you to think about whatever it is that you sell. So let's say you sell a coaching program, or you might sell a physical product. Maybe your offer is a live event, like I was just talking about. I want you to think about the last time that you purchased something similar at a similar price point. Now, this is a really great test because let's say you want to sell a really high-end coaching program, but you've never invested in one. It's going to be a little bit harder for you to connect the dots and figure out the best way to gain visibility. Because here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about, when was the last time that you purchased something similar to the thing that you offer? And you don't have to get super granular. You can go wider, like, when was the last time you purchased a service for your home or, a consultant for your business? Keep it general if you're not sure exactly how to get super specific with it. But I want you to think about this. What was it that led to you buying that item or hiring that person? And where did you find out about them? This can give you really valuable insight into the places where your potential customers might be hanging out and also what could likely connect with them. So for example, when I think about the first mentor that I hired, and it was a mastermind that I joined, and how I found out about it was a referral from a friend who had a more personal connection. And then the steps that came before me saying, yes, I want to join is, I had a free call with this person. I really got to know them. I got to ask my questions. I, in this case, had built-in trust from my friend, but in other scenarios, it might be that I listened to someone's podcast for a year before I ever reach out to work with them. So you really want to think about what were the things that helped you find that person or that account, and then what ultimately made the decision for you to actually say yes and buy from them. So another example might be, maybe you found your last, I'm thinking of like a handyman that I hired for my house. I went on Thumbtack, which is a platform that you can hire kind of like freelance people like that. And I looked for people who had great reviews. And then I reached out to 3, and the person who responded the quickest was the one that I ended up hiring. So when you think through the process that you go through and put yourself as in the shoes of your customer, it can help give you insight into where's the best place to spend your time. When we talk about visibility, I wasn't on Instagram looking for a handyman. I went to a platform that I know specializes in helping to connect people with that resource. So it's not the right place for every single person to focus on building an Instagram following, where for your business, maybe it would be. So thinking through that will help you know what platforms to focus on, and then also think about what made a difference in terms of converting that visibility into an actual customer. What was the most important thing? What level of trust do you have to build, and how can you build trust, through reviews, through testimonials, through, having a really engaged social media presence, whatever it is that's going to matter for the thing that you sell. You want to focus your efforts there. Don't worry about the other stuff. Focus on what's actually going to give you visibility where it matters, and what's going to build the kind of trust and the kind of credibility that actually makes sense for the thing that you are selling. So that's first and foremost. And then the second thing I like to think about in terms of visibility is, yes, getting in front of people is important. And oftentimes we're thinking about social media when it comes to that. Social media is a great resource. It's, mostly free, and you can reach people all over the world. I just don't think it's smart to put all of our focus and effort there. I like to take things into my own hands. So the other question I was thinking about in response to this question is, how can you give people an actual tangible experience with your brand? So again, let's say you're a product-based business. How can you get out, go to pop-up markets? How can you, maybe collaborate with local businesses to have a little pop-up inside of their store? How can you get face-to-face with people and let them have a personal experience with your brand, whether it's your product or your service? If you're a coach and you are selling coaching programs, either groups or individual, can you offer a free consultation call so that they get a chance to know you and get a taste of your coaching style? Anywhere you can give people a taste of what it's like to work with you or buy from your brand, I think helps to shorten the gap. And yes, there can be some investment involved in this. And when we're just getting started, I'm the queen of getting really scrappy and balling on a budget and really making my investment dollars go further. But a lot of what I didn't have in money to spend, I spent in my time and energy, really thinking about how I could give people a tangible experience of the brand, even before I had a lot of money to spend on marketing. So ask yourself that question: how can you give people a tangible experience with your product or your service? And then the last thing is collaboration. Depending on what type of business you are in, most of us have other businesses or can think of other businesses that are serving a similar customer. And when I think about visibility, this is kind of a subject that there's not one way to approach it, but I'll give you a couple of things to think about. So if you think about who is already serving the customer that you want to serve, and then ask yourself, okay, where can I provide value in a way that it makes sense for a collaboration to occur? Either we do some sort of like a joint pop-up event, or maybe we do a joint Instagram live, or, we cross promote each other on our platforms. If you really think about how you can add value, not how they can add value to you, and come up with creative solutions, you just never know who might be willing to, go all in with you and, create something that's going to help you both grow in visibility. Now, when I think about collaboration and even some of the requests that I will get, oftentimes it's people who see someone with a larger platform and think, man, if I could just get on that platform, it would solve all of my worries and everyone would know I exist. And while that, those opportunities are great when and if they happen, it's often the collaborations with businesses that are at a similar stage as you are that are the most valuable. And so I really want to encourage you to think about who can you add a similar level of value to. Those are the places that it's best worth your time and energy to, to think creatively about how you can come together, collaborate, and increase your visibility together. That's where I would start if I were starting all over again in terms of visibility and building my customer base. And then this last question is such a common one. This one was submitted by Elizabeth Allen, who just asked, how do you get over imposter syndrome as a new entrepreneur? And she also shared that she's at a point where she's deciding, do I throw in the towel or do I keep going? And I know so many people can relate to this. I can relate to that feeling. She shared that she quit her day job to pursue her dream, but it's not working. She feels like right now she's working for free because she's not seeing the ROI. And I want to bring us back to what I was sharing in the beginning, that entrepreneurship is really a personal development plan disguised as a financial opportunity. And the more I think about it that way, the more it helps me detach my own self-worth from the results that I'm getting. Because if my goal is to grow as a human, then one of the ways that I grow is through failure, is through not reaching my goals, is through figuring out what doesn't work. But especially if, and I don't know about Elizabeth or what your background is, especially if you're transitioning from a role where you kind of like knew your stuff. Maybe you'd been in that role for a while and you'd gone to school for it and you really felt confident. The contrast that you feel going from a position where you feel like you know your shit to now starting over as an entrepreneur in a brand new field, probably didn't have like a business education. For most of us, we didn't have a business education. We're figuring this out as we go. It can feel really shocking to the ego. So imposter syndrome isn't a sign that you're not meant to be doing that thing. It's a sign that you're new and that you're going to grow as you lean into doing that thing. And if we can keep that in mind, I know that's easier said than done, but it helps me to take my self-worth and how confident I feel away and detach it from my results and help me focus on the actual goal that I have, which is to grow. So first and foremost, that's what I would say. The second thing that I've found to be true, and again, I just wish someone would have sat me down and kind of given me the what to expect, is that my biggest fears, your biggest fears, are pointing you directly to your biggest opportunity for growth. And when it comes to facing the fear and breaking through it, the fastest and most effective way is going to be to lean fully in. So if it's a fear that you're going to find out you're an imposter and you're not meant to do this, then go all in and face that. You're probably going to find out that's not the case, because if you have an idea on your heart, it was given to you for a reason. It's asking you to go on that personal development journey, and you're going to learn so much about yourself that it'll either work out with that thing or it's going to point you in the direction of something else that'll work out. But when I really dig deeper into the times where I have felt like an imposter, and I do all the time, it's usually at the beginning of something. I'm starting something new. It's starting to show me and really highlight the gap between where I am now and where I want to be in the future. And all that is it's showing me my opportunity for growth. So if I can notice what fears are showing up, whether it's the fear of disappointing people or the fear of failure, and if I can just kind of think about that worst case scenario and get to a place of peace with it, like, okay, yeah, that could happen. But also what could happen is I could help a lot of people. I could, create a life of freedom that I dream of. I could make a big impact. Then realize that neither one of those things has happened. The worst case scenario and the best case scenario are both potential possibilities. And all that stands between me and the possibility in the future that I want to create is saying yes and leaning into this growth journey and realizing that the feeling of being an imposter is really just showing me that I'm new and I'm about to go on a growth journey. And that's ultimately what this is really all about. So the last thing about this is that feeling of being an imposter, is rooted in this feeling within ourselves of a lack of confidence, essentially is what it is. And that lack of confidence, if not addressed, can translate to the outside world, whether it's, when we're showing up and we're on sales calls or we're promoting our business on social media. That lack of certainty, that lack of confidence in ourselves can carry through. And what I often see, and what I kind of heard in, this question from Elizabeth, but also a few other questions that were similar to this, is we don't realize that we're projecting this uncertainty because we haven't cultivated it within ourselves. And then therefore, we're not getting the results, which just kind of reinforces this lack of certainty. So the fastest way that I've found to ground into certainty, to feel more confident in myself, is to set and keep small promises to myself on a daily basis. Whether they're within my business or not, but especially within the business, especially if there's something that you're kind of afraid to do, whether it's show up on social media or send that scary pitch email to someone that you want to collaborate with. I ground myself into the confidence that comes from keeping promises to myself. And what I found is that the more I did that, the more my energy shifted, the more I started to know myself as someone I could trust. And that carried through as I was sharing messages on social media or communicating with my potential clients. So while yes, imposter syndrome is a sign that you're meant to grow, the tangible way that you can start to grow through it is to set and keep promises to yourself on a daily basis. And make sure that you're grounding that feeling once you keep the promises to yourself. You're really sitting in that feeling of allowing yourself to acknowledge that you're making progress forward. If we're constantly just reinforcing the message that we're not doing enough or the results aren't coming fast enough, again, that's going to carry through in your energy. All of this is just a giant experiment. And I am constantly checking in with, where's my energy and what was I just thinking in that moment that had it come across as not as confident as I would have liked. So this isn't something you ever get over. And if you're anything like me, I just keep raising the bar on myself. So there's constantly new situations that I'm stepping into that make me feel like an imposter. So once I realized that the goal wasn't for that feeling to go away, the goal was to embrace that feeling when I have it and realize that that's pointing me in the direction of my growth. It helped me to settle into the fact that that's what I signed up for. Deciding to become an entrepreneur was deciding to be on a path of perpetual growth. That's actually where I feel the best. That's where I feel the most lit up, is when I know that I'm growing and learning new things about myself. And what better way to do that than by offering my gifts to the world through a business and making an impact. When I come back to the simplicity of why I started and that reminder, it helps me to weather the days that are a little bit tougher mentally and the times when there are failures, because there are. This journey is not for the faint of heart, but the fact that you felt called in the first place to create a business, to monetize your big idea, tells me that that vision was given to you for a reason. And it's not about you. It's 100% about who you're going to serve in the process. So you can do this. Keep going. And just remember, you're not alone.